better to have a talk about pubs than in a pub, you know. This is the road, of course, Emmet Road, where all of the pubs that I'm going to be talking about, most of them are along this road here. This is an interesting photograph. You look over to the right, see some constables walking along. These are the Metropolitan Police, Dublin Metropolitan Police walking along. And the other side of the road where the DEC would be today. So an interesting photograph there. But we're going to go back a bit further even than that. So before the area, before the buses, trams, the railway, we had the B and Coney coaches, and that was our means of getting about. And to this day we still have a pub called the Black Line Coaching Inn, and that dates back to 1734. And that date is confirmed by historian Eamon Casey, who has researched all the Dublin pubs over the 200-year history of pubs, and he's found a lease bearing that date. This coach route went from near the fountain in James Street, through Kilmainham and Inchicore, to the second turnpike at the Black Line. This was situated not at the present licensed premises, but on Tyrconnell Road up near the Diablo Fathers. And it went from there to the Red Cow. Other taverns on the Nace Road were the Blue Bell, Fox and Geese, the Red Lion and the Black Horse, all taking their names from pubs, all of those areas. At the Black Line, the coach drivers on long trips could have a meal or a stopover, and the horses could be watered. Where the car park is now at the back of the pub, there was once a forge, presumably to facilitate horses that might mean shoeing. The pub had various owners. The Egans were there for over 100 years, then the McCanns, P.J. McAvoy, Hardys and Dillons. You can see how this is Mr. McCann's name over the door in Irish here. So this is before the road was widened. And afterwards.
Yeah.
And just across the road from the Black Line, we have another pub, the Forester's Arms. And this was also owned by the McCann family, who were publicans and builders. They built a pub and a provision shop next to it. They also built two houses nearby called Tyrconnell Villas. James McCann was both a nationalist and a councillor. The family were affiliated with the friendly society, the National Forester Society. The Foresters looked after insurance for out-of-work skilled workers. They met at various locations in the neighbourhood before settling down from 1896 at the Workman's Club on Emmet Road for their meetings. They wore a very distinctive ceremonial garb based on the uniform of Robert Emmet and the United Irishmen. This iconic photograph is of them returning from the funeral of the Bachelor's Walk victims. If you remember, it was the time when the British fired into the crowd on Bachelor's Walk after the whole gun running. They were being jeered by the crowd and they shot into the crowd. Among the casualties was a 10-year-old boy who had a bullet lodged in his chest. His name was Luke Kelly, and they didn't think that he would live. But he did live and went on to father a child by the same name, the popular singer with the double names. The pub was renamed the Tyrconnell House, the Village, and then McGrath. A second turnpike operated by the Mullingar Company from 1786 went along Inchicore Road, passing by the Cow and Calf Inn to Lower Ballyfermot, where the first toll gate was situated, and then passing on via Butcher's Arms and Palmerston. The Cow and Calf Inn was more than just an inn. It became a landmark, and it appeared on some maps of the period, and it was an important road junction. We also had the Cow and Calf Farm, which stretched along Grattan Crescent and Lower Tyrconnell Road. When the Great Southern and Western Railway was set up its base in Inchicore, a school was built to educate the children of the Church of Ireland employees. They bought the Cow and Calf site from Lord Cloncurry, on which they built the model school. However, the licence from the old pub was transferred to the other side of the road, where a new licensed premises opened, Great Southern and Western Railway House, or simply the Railway House. This became Murray's. A set of 12 cottages was built beside it. In 1914, the pub and cottages were offered to the Cleary family, however they could only afford to buy the pub. This is Cleary's in the 1930s and in the 1940s. They were given to me by a member of the Murray family. Great to have them. And then we're on to the Black Horse. On the banks of the Grand Canal, at the third lock we had Moors, the Black Horse. Because of the number of people who were victims of drowning, the owners were bound by law to allow part of the pub to be used as a morgue. The pub would later be owned by the Kelly family and often referred to as Kelly's on the Bridge. Previous owners were the McCanns, Woodcocks, Murrays and Moors. Now we're up to the Puck and Gorman's Yard and cottages, Eagle House, Cambridge House and Golden Bridge. The area known as the Puck had two pubs, McGrath's and the Golden Bridge Tavern. And the Golden Bridge Tavern had their own metal tokens, and you can see the influence of the railway works on these tokens. And tokens were used in a number of ways. They could be a reward system, where you get one of these, you have a free pint the next time you come in. And other various ways where you could pay at the end of the night with your tokens. There's all sorts of different ways they were used. And this is McGrath's pub. Very rare photo, just given to me, I think it was 2 nights away. 2 nights ago with this lady here, Irene. Yeah, it was where Tyrone Estate is today. It was in there. So, and this portrait here we have Edward Lynch and his aunt Mary Watt. McGrath is fondly remembered by the barrackers of Kells Square, Nini McGrath in particular. In 1916, a tragedy occurred when young Eugene Lynch, her nephew, was out playing with his football, and the football hit a soldier on sentry duty. The soldiers were on high alert at the time because of the activities nearby at the South Dublin Union, which is James's Hospital today. And at that time it was occupied by the Irish Volunteers. So the soldiers were a bit jumpy, and this lad got a bang of a football. He turned and fired, mortally wounding Eugene. The 11-year-old was taken over to McGrath's, where he expired on a table and was buried at Golden Bridge. The only picture we have of the family, and this is Eugene in the black on the right. And just a final word on McGrath's, Brendan Bean was known to have frequented McGrath's among other pubs.
Yeah.
And here we have a wedding outside the Richmond House. These are members of the West family from Kells Square. It's a lovely wedding photograph there. The land nearest the Glen was known as the Orchard. At the time of the 1798 rebellion, there was talk of a pub run by a Barnwell who was located directly opposite the jail. We also have a Thomas Barnwell in 1834 in Vintner with an address at Old Kilmainham. It's likely that they owned the house and were leasing it to various people.
Right.
Here. All around is wooded, which probably accounts for its original name of Sally Tree House. EIAR gives the date. It's building from between 1780 to 1820. Now, on deeds of the pub given to me by Joe Guinan, the original name of this establishment was Sally Tree House. The earliest lease we have is 1801, made between Catherine Kelly and John Trophy. I can find no record of it trading under the name Sally Tree. So that was maybe just a house name. But this establishment was known since the earliest times as the Rose Tavern. From my own research, the earliest mention I have is 1862 to Mrs. Jane Deegan, who later went on to acquire the Richmond Tavern. And the sale in 1875, I was saying to Simon that I might get this printed out in an A3 because it mentions all the furniture and all of the items in the pub. It'd be lovely to have that probably on the wall for you to look at. So that was in 1875. This is my gang here. And I'm going to end this just to say that, you know, when you get comfortable here and you have a few pints, you can feel yourself being transported.
Oh yeah, I don't.
So that's it, folks. All right.